All right, people, welcome to our Attraction Mastermind. It is that day of the week, my favorite day. So the purpose of this training is to provide you guys with a supportive community. We want to teach you the best agent attraction practices, get you guys up to speed, inform you of the latest announcements, and then just really give you an environment where you can plug into weekly and remain focused and committed to your success. As I always say, it's more about the commitment to this opportunity long-term than it is about how excited you are in any given moment. So we're going to cover today positive focus, our proven system. We'll go over some updates for you. Then we'll get into the training. Then we got a great interview scheduled for you here today. I really like the success interviews. I think it's important that we hear and understand the other stories of other people winning within this opportunity, especially within Game Changers. It's going to help keep you motivated because, if you just listen to one person's story all the time, you're gonna be like, well, I'm different than that person because, or I'm not like that person, or I didn't have that background. But when you start to hear story after story after story, what it does is it increases your belief in your ability to be successful in this opportunity. And it's all real stuff, guys. So like your belief should be increased, but that's going to give you the confidence and the courage to continue to move forward and do the right actions, which are going to ultimately get you the results you're looking for. So that said, let's dive into some wins. Let's see what you guys got out there. Got a bunch of people on the call. What are some wins from the past week? And the way that works is you just unmute yourself like Darren, and you just go for it.
I set 3 appointments, and I have about through that there. I'll have about 4 people that look like they're going to come aboard.
Amazing, dude. That's so good. What are you on a boat right now?
I live in my vision board.
All right, I like it. That's awesome.
Right.
So you got 4 people coming on. What did you just ask them to take a look at it? Or these people that were on your list? How'd that come about?
Well, so basically I went through John Mendelssohn's training that is for cold calling.
Nice.
And so I've been using Market View Broker, and I've been calling every day, and I've been having great success with it, and people are really receptive to it. So I mean, it's an awesome program, and you have unlimited people to call when you do it that way. So
yeah, absolutely. And like, imagine if you're calling people that you don't even know and they're being responsive to you, how responsive the people that are on your list that you do know are going to be. Like, we're in a changing time, guys. We're in a shifting market. Like, people want to hear about this and people are going to be open to it. Appreciate your share, man. Who else got a win from the past week?
I'll talk, John. You don't mind?
I don't mind.
I got a question for you too. So I talked to my Portugal woman for about an hour the other day because I was following up. I was hoping that she was meeting with the head of Portugal this week with her team, which it turns out she's not. And I was helping her with something else. And I said, so I've been following up with the crew here, all making sure that they're taking care of you. How do you see things happening? What's going on with you? And she said that a couple of her important people were out of town. She said she had a couple of main issues. One of her key people that was on her team that was also there at these meetings said that their team is non-techie, and so it scared him, which scared her because he related that to her. The other was she wanted to meet with some of the top Portugal agents to get a feel for them, like how do they like it? How's that going to work for luxury? She's trying to make sure that it's all going to fit into her world. And my frustration is I feel like I'm not a part of those meetings, so I'm not knowing what's going on. What would you suggest in that?
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like the consensus approach fails because we're looking for people that have a fraction of the time that she has in looking at this model to see it, understand it, and embrace it. And it never works that way. So people are going to have doubts and questions, but it's those that take the bold step forward in faith, in understanding like, hey, this works all over the world. And it's that leadership that gets rewarded. So what I would say to her if I had the opportunity is, hey, look, you see what this can do for you. You know what path you were on before this. This is a completely different path, but you're going to have to be the bold leader in your market to take it forward. And people are going to follow your leadership. if we're looking for a consensus for this to spontaneously combust into something, it's probably not going to happen because
Good.
people are where they are and people are averse to change. That's just,
Right.
you know, basic human nature. But if you'll lead them into this, some are going to follow, some are not. You have to be okay with that. But the ones that follow will change the way and the course that you're going to have in your career in this opportunity. And then, you know, who else do you
I
need
like
to talk
that.
to that's
Thanks.
been through it before? You know, who else has gotten involved in this that's not techie, that succeeded? Like, I don't consider myself techie. You know, I just try to keep things simple and like I can figure it out. Like, I believe in my ability to figure it out, but I'm not like overall like super techie. Like, I gotta, you know, call Stacy or call Lars or call AJ like on this video stuff. Like, if anything comes up, like, I don't know, like it's just not my thing. But the cool thing is that none of that matters. You know, she's selling real estate right now and her people are selling real estate right now, and she can sell real estate in this environment. And if you can check your email, you can do EXP. You know, that's about as techie as you need to be. You need to be able to log in and check your email. And you don't have to be all up to date on the metaverse and all that stuff. You can just do it the way you do it. So that's what I would try to help show her, that what she thinks is her challenge is really her opportunity.
Okay, I like that. Thanks, John.
You're welcome. We're going to get that lady for you. Don't worry. All right. Who's next?
Hey, John, I've got one.
What's up, Dave?
What's up? What's up? When we came back from Cabo, my wife and I were talking about this guy who spoke. His name was Vincent St. Louis. And he was a guy who has never sold a piece of real estate in his life, but he's got 1,000 people in his organization. And so we started thinking about who do we know in other multi-level companies that are high-level folks, but they don't do real estate. And my wife thought of a girl and her husband who are actually touring the country right now with their 7 kids, and they're making about $5 or $6 grand a year from her MLM that she's been part of for 4 years. And they wanted him to be out of his full-time job. So they just sold their house and they're just living off of that right now. And they're coming back to Virginia because they're going to have their 8th child. So we reached out to them. We got on a Zoom call last weekend and they totally saw the model out of the gate. And we had approached them just to see if she had any realtors in her 170 person organization in her other MLM. And then once we started sharing, she said, well, tell us more, like, how do we actually make money out of this? And so he's going to get his real estate license in the next 2 months and they're going to come on board. So pretty cool.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know in your state if you're allowed to sign an LOI before you're licensed?
Good question. I need to find that out.
Yeah, because in certain states you can go ahead and do the LOI and you don't
I did not know that.
And then he could start building right now while he's getting licensed.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, just double check on that. That might be an option. That'd be sweet. Yeah, it's really cool. We had a person this week that really we were saying kind of the similar thing. Like, we know you have a lot of contacts. They have a real estate coaching platform, and they looked at it and they were. I mean, I did a 3-way call for them. I didn't even think the 3-way call went that well. I was like, so I called the person that set it up after the call, and I was like, all right, man, so like, here's what we can learn from that and here's what we can do forward. Like, I didn't think it was a great 3-way call. And the next day they signed up.
Nice.
So it was just like, all right, people are seeing this thing, man. It's really cool. Good share. Let's do one more. Let's see here who we got. Oh, somebody's got something.
It's Josh. I'll go. So I just got a call today from an agent who just recently moved from California to Orlando. She's a 50-unit team leader in California, now has gotten licensed in Orlando. I was introduced to her by one of my agents who is a part-time agent. He rides around in RVs with his wife and was licensed here in Maryland, and then now is getting licensed in New Mexico. And he bumped into her and they started talking. And so she's going to name him as a sponsor. But we're helping her get online, and like, where else can you do something like that? It's unbelievable. So all super excited to get her on board.
That's awesome, man. Congrats. Yeah, it's so cool. I love the way that these connections happen and
Yeah.
creates opportunity for people. Like, where else does that exist for a part-time agent like that? And you can get plugged into something that can become super meaningful.
Right.
Good share. All right, let me get back to this. Good wins today, guys. Appreciate it. So a proven system. And really this system is designed with duplication in mind. What we don't want to end up doing is like every time we get into this, we reinvent the wheel for the person or for the situation. And all of a sudden, like, we don't even know how to do this anymore. And that's really what happens. And I've seen it happen to a lot of people is like, okay, now I got this person and now how do I do it? And it's like, man, it's the same time. Like every single day, I am having conversations with people where they're asking me, what should I do here? And my response is, hey, man, it's the same. Like follow the 4-step system and ask them if they want to learn about EXP and get them in front of the information. They may respond any number of ways to that peaking, that introducing. But once we get them in and we get them in front of the information, then we can do all these other things and handle objections and answer questions. But we can't do any of that on the front end until we get them in front of the information in a quality way. So it's peak, present, pass, and promote. And if you'll peak and present and then pass, we'll, do an effective 3-way call, and then we'll promote the next best thing. And like I said in my example during the wins is like, I didn't even think my 3-way call was that good. But there's something to be said about the fact that you cannot say the wrong thing to the right person. And you can't say the right thing. There's no talk track. There's no like secret nugget of statement that you're going to say that's going to be the right thing for the wrong person when they're not open. Like there's 0 things that somebody could have said to me when my door was closed on this opportunity. They could have been like, John, if you move your company to EXP, you're going to make millions of dollars overnight. It would have just more validated the fact that I wasn't going to look at this. I would have been like, that's ridiculous. I'm not looking at it. So like, we think as we get in here and we get passionately in love with this opportunity, well, there's like, if they just knew this thing, then they would see it. It's like, no, they won't. They have to be open-minded to look at it. If they're open-minded to look at it, there's a chance that they will see it. If you get them in front of the information in a quality way, there's a better chance that they will see it. If you get them on the phone with your business partner and do a 3-way call, there's an even better chance that they will do it. So if you follow the system, incrementally, you're increasing your chances, maybe even exponentially as you move them through the process, but nobody is going to go skip step 1, 2, and 3 and just sign up. Like it's not going to happen. And I would even go as far as saying, if that person did do that, they're probably not going to do anything because they got in under the wrong notion. They got in under the wrong premise. They must have heard or thought something beforehand, and they're going to get in and they're not going to follow the system because they didn't follow the system. So part of this is like following the system because that's what's going to get your prospect properly introduced to the opportunity and want to move forward. But the other side of this is they need to follow the system because if they follow the system, chances are they'll have their people follow the system too, and it'll start to duplicate for you. So, focus on what your cadence is. Like everybody on this call should be listening to this and saying, okay, if I'm honest with myself and I look back over the last week or last month, and I think about how many people did I ask to look at EXP? That's your cadence currently. And you just have to make a decision is 0 people a month, 1 person a month, 10 person a month, 100 persons a month, 1,000 people a month. Yes, we have people in Game Changers that are exposing 1,000 people a month right now. So like maybe that's what you needed to hear today to like open up your mind and be like, what's possible? What can I do? But we also have a lot of people doing 0 people a month. So you just got to look back and say, what is my cadence currently? And is that cadence likely going to get me to the goal and the vision that I have for my future? If not, no problem. Set a new one and make a new commitment today. All right, guys, so let's get into announcements. We got Cabo 23 up. We've been posting it in the Game Changers Facebook group. My favorite talk of the whole thing, of the whole event, was day 3, first session of the day, build pipes. I needed to hear that. I needed to hear like, okay, we got to get our prospecting game up. Like we're in a situation right now where real estate's going to be challenged because of the lack of inventory, yes, but more importantly, the number of transactions relative to the amount of agents. So that's what I needed to hear. Somebody else, in fact, everybody else, for the most part, probably had another best talk. So, maybe you heard what Brent Gove said to close out day 3, and it was like inspirational for you. I know for some people that was the most important talk to them. Maybe you learned how to set up systems and how to approach your organization in a way like Stacy taught, and you're like, that's what I need to do, and I need to step up and be somebody who's going to lead my organization and care and nurture for them like her. So whatever it is for you, you got to find that thing. And if you weren't at the event, you need to go back and watch these and really figure out, okay, I wasn't at the event, but here's the event on my desktop, on my laptop. Here's what I needed to take away from it. Or I was at the event and I need to go back and rewatch that and make some commitments off of that. So that's my encouragement to you. Those resources are awesome. And just get into it and then share it with your people. We got the EXP Summit coming up in Orlando, Florida. Awesome. Get yourself there, get your people there. Kathy, get your Portugal lady there. Like if she goes there, she's probably going to get all the objections she needs handled there. She's going to get the confidence there. So somebody like that, they'd probably be willing to fly across the pond and go to something like that. Get your top prospects to these big events. We got Build coming up in July. We got EXP coming up in October. Like the big events do the heavy lifting. So today, what I want to talk to you about is I want to talk to you about the exposure process and what is it that we do or can do to promote. Promoting is so important. We have to promote this opportunity in the right way. So following the system, but we also have to be familiar with like, what are our next steps? And I want everybody that's on this call, that's listening to this, I want you all to be unconsciously competent about the promotion process, because there's a huge weight and responsibility that you need to understand when it comes to EXP. And the weight and responsibility is that somebody, hold on a second, somebody was peaked, somebody was presented to, hopefully, and somebody was promoted to get on a call with you. So if you're doing the 3-way call and you don't have like an unconscious competence about what some ideas are for the next promotion, you're gonna take and drop the ball when somebody has done all the heavy lifting to get it to where you are. So when you get on that 3-way call, like you just have to know what I'm gonna go over today. So if that means you got to rewatch this a few times, please do, because somebody's putting their future organization in your hands if you're doing the 3-way call for them. So John Maxwell said, little did I realize that my desire to add value to others would be the thing that added value to me. Like, have a desire to add value to other people. Yes, when you do a 3-way call in your organization, it benefits you too. Yes, if you do a 3-way call for somebody not in your organization, it benefits you too, because it benefits the company. And the company needs growth right now. We have an opportunity to stand out from the crowd. All other real estate companies, we saw the top 10 list, we're the only company growing, but like all of the real estate companies are shrinking right now in sales volume and agent count. And it's an opportunity for us to expose the real estate industry to what it is and take the opposite approach and actually grow in sales, grow in agent count. And as we do that together, it benefits all of us. So have a desire to add value to others. One of the things that just hurts my heart and breaks my heart more than anything is people that come into this opportunity and they're looking for that lottery ticket. They're looking for that one person that they're going to bring in that's going to have a massive and immediate life-changing impact on them. But they look for that person at the expense of everyone else. I think the real opportunity with EXP is that we don't have to hit home runs, is that we can hit base hits consistently over time. And by doing something consistently over time, that's not miraculous, that's not crazy, that you didn't recruit a brokerage of 6,500 people, that's just simple base hits, can lead to a life changed. And that's what we got. You can't ever look at somebody and say, hey, that's a brand new agent. That person doesn't matter as much as this person. You got to treat everybody and have a desire to help everybody. If you look at the top people, that's why I think, you know, the Rob Fricks, the Brent Goves, the Gene Fredericks are so successful, because if you've ever been around those people, you are like the only person when they're talking to you. They desire to help you achieve your goals in this opportunity. And that's who I want to be like. So when it comes to promotion, we need to further the progress of something, especially a cause, a venture, or an aim. And a lot of times we're dealing with an aim. It's like, hey, this is your life, this is your career, and this is the path you're on, and this is the pain you're feeling. Let's redirect that and aim for something that's going to actually help you get off the hamster wheel, that's going to provide a retirement for you, that's going to serve you at a higher level, that's going to save you money, that's going to provide you health care, like all the benefits of EXP. We can change the aim in the direction of somebody's career if they'll slow down and look at this opportunity. And we want to do that, and we want to promote in a support and an encouraging way. So when it comes to promoting, be urgent, because if you're not urgent, they're not going to be urgent. And if they fizzle out on this thing, they're going to miss the opportunity. They're going to miss the boat. So your urgency and your enthusiasm is going to cause them to like stop in their tracks and be like, what is going on here? Like there's a certain energy that we give off when we're urgent and enthusiastic that's magnetic. People want to be around that. People don't want to be around negativity. They don't want to be around dull drums and just people that just, really another day, woke up, gotta do it again. Like nobody wants to be around somebody like that. So you got to be urgent. You got to be enthusiastic. You want to create FOMO. There's scarcity, there's timing, there's exclusivity here, there's proximity. Hey, me and my organization, we're growing super fast right now. We're one of the fastest growing organizations within the company. We're in the fastest real estate company in the history of real estate. Like there's exclusivity, there's proximity, there's timing. Like this is happening right now. And when I get into some of the deeper three-way calls with people, like I'm just honest with them, right? Because I think there's FOMO in the honesty. It's like, dude, I am 42 years old right now. My daughter's about to go into high school next year. I got 4 more years of doing it at this level, at this pace. And then I'm probably not going to do it like I'm doing it now. The benefit to you of getting in now versus a year from now or 2 years from now is that I'm doing this and I can help you do it too. So be real with people. Like, you know, if your plan is to retire in 2 years, tell them like, we got 2 years to go after this together. Let's do this together and change both of our lives in the process. And then as a means of following up, you know, so we have the initial promotion. We have like, okay, this is what I would recommend. Like, what does that follow-up look like? Let's take a look right here. So there's a fortune in the immediate follow-up. So always be adding value. Biggest pet peeve I have when it comes to agent attraction, check-ins. Don't do check-ins. It's annoying. Nobody wants to be checked in on. You always have to come with value. So whenever you reach out to somebody, it's like, it's never, hey, just checking in. Nope, you're not going to get a response from that. And they're probably not going to want to talk to you. And they'll probably ghost you. You have to be, hey, had you on my mind. I know we need to talk again. Here's something that I just became aware of. Here's something that I just heard. Here's something I heard at the event that I think is super applicable to everybody in production right now. You should give this a watch and let me know what you think. Or watch it together with them. Hey, we had a talk in Cabo. I feel like every agent that's selling real estate right now needs to watch this. It's that important. When do you have 23 minutes for you and me to jump on a call and I'll take you through the information that I learned? Everybody's got to watch it. So there was urgency, there was excitement, there was FOMO. Like you got to watch it right now. Like you got to see this if you're selling. You getting them in front of the information, that's another exposure. And then vary your approach so that it's a different touch. Usually it takes 4 to 6 exposures on average. So one of the things I'm always trying to explain people when it comes to this opportunity is, look, you are, and I just said it to Kathy when she was sharing her win, you are, or your person is where they are. And they've probably had more exposure to EXP than 12 seconds. Stop trying to get everybody to catch up to where you are without following the exposure process. So when you find your why, you will find your way. And this goes to everything. Like if you understand why you're doing this for you, that's a story that's going to resonate with other people who have a similar why, who have a similar background, who have a similar pain point. But also when you find why you're doing this, you should want to and have the desire to help everybody do this. Like I genuinely want everybody that's in real estate to slow down and take a look at this, because I know that there's nothing that they're doing that they're going to be better off doing in their lane, that they wouldn't be better off doing that thing in EXP, even if it meant losing a couple team members, even if it meant losing a couple luxury deals in their market, even if it meant some people thinking they were crazy. 10 years from now, you're so much better off if you pivot and move that business to EXP than you will ever be doing it where you're doing it, how you're doing it. I really believe that. And for the people that refuse to accept that, in those isolated situations where I've gone through due diligence with somebody, where they've gotten the exposures, where they really understand it, the ones that don't see it or don't agree with that, every single time that I can think of where somebody's gone through that, it's for a selfish reason. It's because they're okay, or they're going to benefit more right now to not do it. But it's never a collectively good decision for them and the people they leave. It's always a selfish decision for them. That's why I mean, like, really, like, I will talk to anybody about this opportunity. In fact, I might be getting on the phone next week with somebody that, on one hand, like I could almost say, like, I don't have any business talking to this person. Like what they've done in their career, like I'm just nobody to them, right? But what I have, the power of EXP is stronger than anything they've done. So therefore, I'm empowered to talk to that person. So what are some exposure ideas? So we get on a three-way call. You know, obviously we got to have more three-way calls. We got to have that exposure process. What are some other steps? So these are the things that I want you guys to be unconsciously competent about. So you're doing a three-way call. We know that 99 times out of 100, they're going to need another three-way call. So a lot of times you'll go and you'll share the information and let me know if it's ever gone this way for you. Let me go and like make this a little bit more interactive. Let me stop my share. I want you to raise your hand if you've ever been on a three-way call, either as the person who invited the person to the three-way call or the person doing the three-way call, and the business partner, the person doing the three-way call, explains all the information, what they have ready for them, shares their story, they're enthusiastic, they're urgent, and at the end of that three-way call, the person goes something like this: well, sounds really good, man. I'll give it some thought. Anybody have that? Like, you got to expect that. Like, a lot of times the call naturally leads to somewhere else. And that's easy because we know where to go with somewhere else. We know, okay, you need more information about teams at EXP. We'll set that call up. But how many of you have been on a three-way call where it's like, okay, thanks, man. Well, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I see that we're up on the hour. Thanks so much for the information, John. Thanks so much for the information, AJ. Me and my wife will process that and we'll get back to you. Anybody have that happen to you? If you let them get off the phone, you have failed as the person doing the three-way call. You have flat out failed. You've failed them. You failed your people. So what we got to do is we got to know, what is it that we have in our back pocket? So this situation happened to me on this call that I thought didn't go very well the other day. And I was like, all right, they're pulling that card on me. They're saying, oh yeah, well, they want to be respectful of my time. Like, they don't even know me. They don't care about respecting my time. You know, we did the three-way call and they said, hey, we want to be respectful of everybody's time and we're going to get out of here. Thanks so much. And I said, hey, before you go, like, that's just a great pattern to interrupt. Hey, before you go, we talked about, you know, getting on the phone with somebody in corporate. What I'd recommend you do, because you were talking about Fathom Realty, is let's get you on the phone with Russ Lagan. He's one of our growth leaders here on the corporate side. He's employed by EXP. Let's get you on the phone with him and let him share his story of how he led Fathom through their biggest years of growth and why he made the move to come to EXP. And they went from being like, hey, let's get off the phone, be respectful of your time, to, oh yeah, we want to talk to him. Great, we set that up. But you guys got to know who your players are, what their stories are, and then so on and so forth. So full circle on that scenario, just so you kind of see how we work here. They join the next day. They call up, they're like, we're signing up right now online. Awesome, really excited. To which I said to the person that, is getting this recruit, I said, hey, we already have the call set up with Russ for Friday. Don't let them miss that opportunity, and don't miss that opportunity yourself to get and hear his story. Because when you hear his story and they hear his story and they were thinking about Fathom, they're going to remember that forever. And when you're doing a three-way call in the future, you'll have that relationship, that connection with him, and know his story and be able to use that down the road. See, one of the greatest opportunities that you have when you go to these events is, yeah, you get fed. Yeah, your people get excited and join the company if they're guests or they're new and they get fired up. But you also have the opportunity to go shake hands and meet people in a setting and get to know them. Like, these people are huge for you. So, knowing all of the people on the growth team at EXP, knowing your state broker personally, getting to those regional events that your state broker does, knowing your upline sponsor, well, that's a given, that's easy. But what about your downline recruits? What about somebody in your organization who has a really cool story and used to be a, influencer at so-and-so's company, and now they're a downline recruit from you, and you can call on them and they will do a three-way call with you? A fellow game changer, a fellow EXP agent. I remember when we were talking to Susan Duncan about coming over, she was one of the top exit franchise owners in the country. Well, we just happen to have Vincent Koo, who also used to be the number one or number two person in the world for exit realty. So we call Vincent up. He spends 2 hours with the person. Awesome. Changed the game for us. Got that person in. And then we have corporate EXP employees, like I talked about, growth team, state broker. We also have affiliates. There's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand right now in this training is there's always somewhere else to go with these people. So as you're asking questions, you should, in your mind or writing down when you're doing a three-way call, anything that relates to something. So like if you talk about health insurance and they're interested about that, you make a little note, HI, health insurance. If you ask them, what are you guys currently doing in your business for lead generation? And you find out they don't have a platform, or they have a platform that you're familiar of that's not as good as KV Core, right? KV. Now you have places to go. So at the end of the call, there's either a very natural, likely next best step, or you're searching. If you're searching, you could say, hey, why don't we do this? I know we had talked earlier about health insurance. Why don't we set up a call with Margot, who's over all of the health insurance at EXP, and have her explain what are these plans that they're offering and how are they able to offer such amazing plans at such low rates? Great. That now you have another exposure for them, and it buys you time and it gets them down the path of doing EXP. Some more ideas would be schedule a Zoom to share some big news. EXP Life is pumping out massive attraction content for you guys week in, week out. You got to look at every one of those articles and look at those articles against everybody that you're prospecting and say, who is this for? Who would this relate to? And then you got to get urgency, FOMO, excitement with your people and say, hey man, some news came out this week that I've got to share with you. When do you have 10 minutes for a call? And then you share the news with them, whatever it is, however it applies to them. And then while you're on that call, promote getting on another three-way call. Hey, let's get you on the phone with so-and-so over at EXP. Let's talk more about some of these things that you had issues with or you had questions about. You could do a tour of the EXP world. This person's concerned about the tech. What if Kathy got on and did a Zoom call with her prospect and said, hey, I know exactly what you're saying. I felt the same way. So it's called Feel, Felt, Found. And it's a rapport framework. Hey, I understand how you feel. I understand how they feel. I felt the same way. I wasn't techie either. But let me show you what I found. let's spend 10, 15 minutes to get together tomorrow, and I'll walk you through the extent of the technology that they need to understand at EXP. You walk them in, you show them your dashboard, and you say things to them like, hey, this is just like checking email. It's that easy. Even I could do it. Invite them to a live weekly production training call. We do them every Tuesday. Massive value being conveyed on those calls. Attend a live local event such as a lunch and learn. Travel to a big regional event. Like, make the investment into your business to get people to these events. It's probably the single greatest investment you can make. We're in an opportunity where there's so much margin, and we need to reinvest some of that margin back into growing our business. Create a big event list and tag your prospects. This shift is always happening. Did you know? So if the shift is always happening, if 30% of the realtors are always switching brokerages in every given year, how much more urgent is it right now? And if they recognize your prospect that it's urgent for them right now, like, yeah, man, I definitely agree. More people are going to make a move. You should flip that right back to them and say, that's why we got to get you in front of this information now, because if you're feeling that way, guess what? Other people are too. And now's the opportunity where we can seize this shift and get you in front of all of these people who are going to make a change anyway, and you can be the beneficiary of that for the rest of their career. So just understanding your temperature scale, like, you've got to do this with your prospects. Nobody can do this for you. You've got to understand, where are they? Are they cool? Are they hot? If they're cool, then you got to be cool with them. Still have urgency, still have excitement, but you're not going to treat them the same way you do somebody who's a red hot prospect. And then the mindset is, do everything you do in this opportunity with urgency, but do what you say you're going to do. Every exposure that you have should lead to another exposure. Even if that's just a call where you're like promoting some big news that EXP release, great. Now that I've shared that with you, when are we going to get on the phone? I've got to get you on the phone with so-and-so. They're amazing. You're going to want to know that person regardless of EXP or Keller Williams or whatever company you're with. Like, it doesn't matter. This person is amazing. They're an influencer in the industry, and I have an opportunity to get with them next week. I'd love to include you in that opportunity because this is somebody you want to know. And then condense the time between exposures and go 5 levels deeper on questions and objections. 80% of sales, 80%, the vast majority, require 5 follow-up calls, but only 40% of salespeople will ever do that. 44% of salespeople give up after the first follow-up call. So, like, if you want to be elite at sales, just get really good at having follow-ups and asking follow-up questions. Because a lot of times the initial question or objection that they're sharing with you isn't the thing that's keeping them from joining EXP. It's just a surface level thing that they're comfortable with, that they're going to share with you, that's not usually tied to their real pain point. So you got to go deeper with people, and you got to get in there and help them understand. Without a sense of urgency, desire loses its value. So with that, guys, I'm going to turn it over to my man, AJ Midas.
All right. Thanks, John. Awesome. Good stuff. That's like the most tactical advice that you can get around, moving a prospect forward after a three-way call. Good stuff. I appreciate everyone on here today doing the hard work of learning the tactical stuff that makes
Josh, how do you say your last name? Is it Yule?
Yao. It's like
Yao.
Hal or Hal, but with a Y. Yep.
Yeah, I wondered that. Cool. So Josh, y'all, let's go ahead and get started, man. So where are you at in the world?
So I'm in Southern Maryland, about an hour and 15 minutes outside of DC, pretty much as far south as you can go in Maryland.
Cool. Awesome. And how long have you been with EXP?
I've been with EXP just over 2 years. Before that, I was with Century 21 for about 14 years, and then I started my career back in 2000 rather, at Long and Foster Realtors, which is a large regional brokerage here.
Okay. Wow. So you've been in real estate 23 years.
Yeah, 23
Cool.
years.
Wow. Congrats. And
Thanks.
that's with just 3 companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I was on a three-way call, I think last week, with someone that's been in real estate like 3 years, and they're with like 6 different companies. I was
Yeah,
like,
I see that sometimes too. It makes you scratch your head and wonder,
yeah,
It's probably
that's
not the
crazy.
brokerage, it's probably the agent.
Yeah. Hopefully they join EXP and it's their last, because
Right,
keep
right.
on forever like that, man, you're not gonna get good traction.
Right.
So cool. Let's talk a little bit about, why you joined EXP about 2 years ago. So you're at Century 21. You saw what we were doing. What really spoke to you and appealed to you the most?
Yeah, so my last position at Century 21, I was a full-time branch manager, and so I managed the #1 Century 21 office with the #1 Century 21 company, and we were #1 for many years. And then that grew into me taking on a second branch, and then a third smaller branch, and so definitely doing well. We had been at that time the #1 broker in Southern Maryland, which is about 3 counties. We have about 14 or 1500 licensed agents as part of the association, so not real big, but we were doing well. But I plan to be, God willing, in the business for at least another 20 years. I enjoy it. I want to be part of it. I don't want to retire quickly and all that. But I was just looking at, okay, well, so Century 21, great company, certainly in their time was a disruptor through the franchise models and all that. But certainly not that anymore. I don't think most people would say that. And so certainly very traditional. And as a manager, the problems that I dealt with, the frustrations from the agents and all, a lot of it revolved around, the fees with the company and how much, the franchise fee was and the nickel and dime fees and all that kind of stuff. And we did a lot of things well, but I just felt like there had to be a better approach. And in my heart, I'm an agent and always have been an agent. Even when I was managing, I felt still like an agent in a management role. And of course, it thought, like a lot of people, when you have success, you think, well, maybe I can open my own brokerage and do this better and do it my way. And so I was certainly open to that, considered Keller Williams, and had pretty advanced conversations with them because I felt like they were a good alternative. And then I saw that Lars Hedenborg had switched over to EXP. And there were 1 or 2 people in my marketplace that had switched over and, kind of felt like, yeah, that's just sort of a one-off kind of thing. And those avatar things and, all that stuff.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me. That'll never last. You got to have bricks and mortar, right? And then Lars said, I'm like, okay, he's like literally one of the smartest people that I know in the industry. I got to find out like why he did it. And so through conversations with him, I got super excited about it, obviously, and could see the benefits based on my background. And so I named Lars as my sponsor and made the leap. And it was a big shock to the community down here, the agent community at least, and the people that I had left over there and all that. But I just knew that I could build a much better business and a platform and serve agents at a much higher level by having the flexibility that EXP, offered. So I decided, even though obviously EXP is mostly virtual, we're in a more rural area. And so I knew that it'd be a shock to a lot of the agents to say we're going 100% virtual, right? And we don't have any Regus spaces anywhere close to us. Plenty in Maryland, plenty in Northern Virginia, DC, but none near us. And so I made the personal decision to open up a small branch. And so we opened up a branch and kind of use it as our base. We allow our agents to meet with clients, and we have trainings and things like that. And so that's what we decided to do. And then, we kind of just have grown from there, but that's the basics of how I got over.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for sharing that. I want to unpack the idea of a branch a little bit more because I get that question a lot. I get it from usually lower producers that I'm having calls with about joining EXP. They're very concerned about having an office because they don't really know how to sell real estate yet. So I can see the value of being able to actually go in the office, sit in front of somebody to boost your confidence to actually become a successful agent. So I do see that appeal to newer agents and local producers of having an office. So I get that question a lot. And I also get the question a lot from agents that may be like you are in more rural type markets. So I love that you brought that up. And a lot of people are probably considering it or have considered it, or they're going to get that question too. So I would like to just talk about how you did it. Like how much space do you have? How many agents do you have that have access to it? How many actually come in? Just kind of talk through that a little bit.
Right. So I've learned a lot of lessons about people, about the business, about myself and all that. But the space, just to give the basics of it, we have about 1,000 square feet. It's literally, and I didn't plan this, but it's a small area and it is what it is. Literally right next door to the Century 21 building that I manage. So I see people wave to people through the window.
Nice.
Right. Super convenient. It's actually a minute or so, or 30 seconds closer to my house. So it's short of but yeah, so basically we just have five offices and a large conference room that I'm sitting in here, and people can reserve the conference room through an app. And we have agents who rent offices. But one of the lessons I learned was everybody wants the space, but doesn't want to pay for it. Right. And somebody has to pay for it. Right. And I certainly took a leap of faith that, I know I'm going to be able to bring people over and the rev share will offset and all that kind of stuff. But the reality of it is, even when I was at Century 21 and they have a 3-story bricks and mortar building, and it's a freaking ghost town, you know what I mean? And they have 75 to 100 agents, and you see 5 or 6 cars in the parking lot, unless it's meeting day, and you might see 15, you know what I mean? But like all brokers realize that the agents, for the most part, are not coming in and using the space, and they're paying for it, right? So we have a smaller space, so it's more manageable and all that. And at this point, through the people that we have renting and through some other income sources, where it's covered, right? So it's good, and it's a good thing to have. We're expanding up into Annapolis, which is about an hour and a half or so away. There's 2 Regus office spaces there. There's no plans at all to open up an office space because it's not necessary, right? So we just don't have a lot of shared workspaces down here. One's just opening up not too far from us, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But so I used it obviously as a selling point, but I'm sure that I still could have brought people on without it, but I chose to do that. And there are people, you'll talk to people that say, oh yeah, I work better away from home, I get distracted. And there's certainly some truth to that. But even those people don't come in that often because they're out working.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
the mentality, it's like the safety net or whatever, but it is not the end all be all. And it's an expense that you got to make sure is covered. So the mechanics of doing it in Maryland are pretty easy. You pay a $5 fee, and you get your broker approval, and you can open up your own branch, and there's no franchise fees or anything like that. So for us, it was very easy to do. I'm responsible for everybody in the branch through Maryland. I'm the office manager, so that's a little added responsibility there. But beyond that, it's been good. I don't know if AJ's frozen or I'm frozen or what. It's AJ.
No, that's cool, man. Like, we get the objection all the time, like, hey, EXP won't work for me because, we don't want to be virtual, or we don't believe in the virtual concept. To which I say, that's cool, man. Like, you don't have to do it virtually. We're just not forcing you to do it brick and mortar. So if you have an office, like, by all means, have one. We just had a team come over in Northern California in Redding, and their thing was like, they knew they could have an office if they wanted it, but their thing was, dude, we can't have a San Francisco address for our listings in MLS. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, we'll get you a branch office approval, and then that'll be your address. And they were like, really? So it's like any of the objections that people have because they're doing it one way and they think EXP is like this mandatory virtual other way. Right. It doesn't have to be that way. Right. So explain that process. Like, you went through the branch application, your address is your office now. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as, like I said, the broker in Maryland reviews the lease to make sure that EXP is not responsible in any way for the payment of the rent and all that kind of stuff. And so, either through an entity or partners or whatever, or individually, you sign the lease with the landlord, and then you apply through Maryland. And every state's a little bit different, but through Maryland, you just fill out a simple form, get the broker to sign off on it, literally pay $5, and then you're good to go. And then, from
there's some insurance requirements there too, right?
Yeah. Sure.
They'll tell you what that is.
Yeah, but it really isn't anything. And again, like, if I were to like stay in the Century 21 system and I wanted to open up my own franchise or whatever, you're literally talking hundreds of thousands of dollars and then ongoing franchise fees and all that kind of stuff. And so anybody, whether it's a team, and I think, you know, I think in Maryland it's more teams that are opening up their own branch because they just want to be independent, have their own branding, have their own, vibe and all that kind of stuff. You know, I started off a little bit more of like a brokerage within a brokerage because that's kind of where I came from, being a manager and all that kind of stuff. And it certainly morphed a little bit, but we have flexibility, we have convenience, and it works for us. But if I were closer to more metropolitan area, I probably would not have. I might rent an office space in a Regis or a WeWork or something like that, but I don't. It's not necessary in my opinion.
Yeah, I even think like the time is changing, right? So people are quickly becoming more and more open to not having a physical office.
Yeah.
Even in the last couple of years, I've seen, massive, adoption of that. And I can even hear in your voice, like, you're like, I probably didn't need to do this.
Yeah.
But the lesson here for us watching is don't try to take everything away from people that they think they want. If they think that's important to them and they need it, let them do it.
Right.
And then let them learn as they go, and they can evolve, and they can maybe not have it, or they can kind of pivot. But like, don't try to convince people what they want or don't want.
Right.
That creates a lot of friction in the move over to EXP. Just let them understand how they can do what they want here.
Right, exactly. And I just have to say too, like I tell people all the time, okay, bricks and mortar, I was the only manager in that branch sitting there, and agents would be lined up outside my door with problems and questions and all that kind of stuff. If I'm in on a Zoom or I'm meeting with somebody else, they're just going to have to wait. It is so easy and so quick. We have 4 brokers in Maryland, and each state obviously has a different number based on the number of agents. But like, it's so easy to go in there and have a conversation with somebody. And yes, it's the avatar and all that kind of stuff. But like, it's so easy. When I show people that, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous." Like they come to me like, "Hey, I've been emailing and I haven't gotten a response back." And I'm like, "Did you go in the world?" "Well, no, not yet." I'm like, "Okay, let's go into the world." And like within 2 or 3 minutes, we got, "Oh, hey, Josh, how you doing?" It's just like walking in. But there's always somebody there versus like having to wait for the manager to get out of a meeting, so
Totally.
the accessibility is way, way, way better, with that virtual setup, so, but that's the beauty of EXP is it can be really whatever you want it to be. And you just can't do that with any other brand.
Last night I had a situation that we needed to get some stuff from EXP, some circumstantial exceptions agreements back. It was kind of timely because we had people that were trying to sign up before the other person had even like finished signing up. And I reached out to Sean Murphy, who's the president of growth for the West, the United States. And he wasn't available because he was bringing on a team of 300 when I was trying to call him. It was after 5 o'clock on the East Coast. But within minutes, I was still able to get in communication with Dave Kennord, get everything handled, get everything like where it needed to be, at least for that day until today. And we just rock and roll. I mean, it's such an amazing environment that we have, and people in different time zones and parts of the country, and yet we're all working together for the same common cause. A couple of questions that came up while you were talking, Josh, is
Sure.
Is there a limited number of branch offices that are allowed? You're going to want to check with your state on that. Each state's going to have, kind of a different policy or philosophy on that.
I'll just chime in on that. So we literally have another branch office that's like a mile away from us, right? And they're not part of our Game Changers group and all that kind of stuff, but they're able to open that up. So at least in Maryland, there's really no restrictions as far as that goes, as long as you check all the other boxes. I think in Maryland, we have, last time I checked, we have like 30 or 35 branch offices. I don't know how that compares to other states, but that's what I was told.
Nice. Darren asked, what if you work at home? Can you still get a branch office that way? My understanding is no, you can't
right.
call your home office a branch office. It has to be like a legit commercial space.
Right.
And then there's some requirements around that.
Yeah.
Jeff Lewis said,
but one of the other questions too was how many agents are out of the branch. So we have approaching 40 agents out of the branch. And then I have like another 30 or so agents that are scattered throughout Southern Maryland here. One group, a team, has probably about 35 minutes north of here, has their own branch also in their county. So that's kind of how we're set up.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Hey man, I appreciate you sharing about this branch office. But we got a few minutes left, and I'd really like to maybe see if we can pivot this conversation.
Sure.
I think it's cool what we shared today, but I don't think it's the most powerful thing about you. I recently learned a little bit more about your story in talking to Lars just a couple of weeks ago, actually, and sort of the leap of faith that you had to take coming from what you came from into this opportunity, and also what that leap of faith required from you in the short term to make it work. I don't want to share too much, but whatever you're comfortable sharing around that, I think that's very powerful for these people on this call.
Sure, absolutely. Well, look, going from in this area again, like, certain areas of the country, North Carolina, things like that, EXP has been known for years and accepted, and it's been proven and all that kind of stuff. And it just wasn't where I was. And like I said, there were a couple of EXP people, but nobody even knew what it was, And so for the first 2 years, we've definitely, I'd say for the first year, we had to explain it, it's a whole ESP, EXP, thing, whatever. We had to explain that. We had to say we're virtual, but we do have an office space. Well, that doesn't make sense. Well, if you're totally virtual, yeah, that sounds stupid, whatever. We had to do all that. And then we had to obviously have, questions with, more traditional, generally older, I'll say, clients of like, oh, I've never heard of you all before, even though we're in all 50 states and, we're huge and all that kind of stuff. And so dealt with that. But, I also too, like a lot of employees of brokerages, I had a non-compete, well, non-solicit really. And I, even though I have a ton of relationships with people over at Century 21, I needed to honor that agreement and agree to it. So I did honor it. And certainly people would reach out to me, and I wasn't soliciting them, and we could have those conversations, or they came, through other people in our group and all that. But yeah, my hands were tied for sure, but even through all that, we still brought on a lot of people, and not just from Century 21, but a lot of people from other brokerages too. But so that's a challenge for sure. You have to watch what you say, watch what you do, and more than anything, though, honestly, it's the early adopter kind of thing. Like it takes some guts. Maybe a little stupidity, maybe a little recklessness to be like, yeah, you know what? Like, I know the business, I know the models, and this is a freaking rock star model. Like, I'm doing it, right? And it's scary. And and the thing is too, like, I was making multiple, 6 figures, comfortable, right? Yeah. But who wants to live a life of like just comfort? Like, I could not envision going another 20 years in that position and never growing anymore, right? And so I absolutely took a step back in income and all that, and we're getting to the point now where it's all starting to pay off and it's coming in, and there's multiple streams and things like that. But yeah, it's been hard for sure. But what I'm seeing now is that we've created a culture and a community, and we've kind of found our niche in a few different areas and all that, and now it's really starting to work. But look, I've been hot and cold in making the calls and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of the cool thing, though, is that you can do it, step away for a little bit, and then come back to it. I know that the results aren't going to be consistent that way, but that's the beauty.
It is amazing though, because you really can't do that in your sales career. If you do sales and then you take a month off and then you try to come back, like you're starting over at zero again.
Right.
You got to push that boulder up the hill. So that is a cool thing. No, man, I think your story is great. I think that, I have a lot of respect for the guys like you that, that you give up a lot when you come over, right? Like, multiple 6 figures to, hey, now I'm just an agent starting from scratch and build this thing. So I commend you for that. And I think it's an awesome story. And I think you guys are going to be doing big things in Maryland. Yeah, it's the early adopters that get the, massive growth in those. There's only so many markets left in the country like that.
Right, right.
So yeah, it's super cool. Does anybody have a question for Josh before we wrap up? Awesome, man. I think you crushed it. You did a great job of breaking that down. If any of you guys are talking to somebody that is in a market that doesn't have a lot of EXP yet, or they have an office and they're concerned about coming over to EXP and what that looks like, be sure and get a copy of this recording. It'll be in Game Changers, and make sure that they watch it, because I think it was very powerful and will serve a lot of your prospects.
Yeah, and I'm willing to, if anybody thinks that my story, my background can help you in any way, please just reach out, and I'll give you my thoughts and, you know, everything that I've experienced and all that kind of stuff. So
Awesome.
Yep.
AJ's back. Any last words, brother?
Man, I just want to ask you, where do you see yourself in 3 years with RevShare? You mentioned that you're around 70 total agents in your organization. Like, what would be that 3-year goal of total organization size?
The goal that I'm going for is 500 agents total.
Love it.
Yeah, that, you know, I'm looking at 5%. The goal is 5% increase in total organization size monthly. We'll see how that goes, and that's net, obviously, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how it's modeling out right now. So
Cool. Awesome. Well, that should get you there in about 3 years then, it sounds like.
yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Josh. This was really great.
You guys, appreciate it.
See ya.
All right. See ya.